guys, welcome to this episode of the Trainer Feed. We are your hosts. My name is Angel Sanchez. We have Mr. David Bravo.
Hello.
And we also have Mr. Jacques Delogere.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
You gotta hold it for longer, bro.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
I can't hear. All right.
Yeah, you gotta just let it rock.
Well, but typically I just tap it once and it's good. Is that better? Or is it about the
Not
same?
sure, but we'll work with
We'll
it.
work on that. That's work in progress.
All right, well, we'll figure it out. Anyway, we wanted to speak to you guys about a couple of things. We'll start with ankle mobility. And then we'll dive down everything. Jock, you good? You keep holding your head, man.
No, I'm just this is comfortable when I do this. Not like I'm going crazy or anything. It's just
It looks
comfortable.
like you either have a
It's like
headache,
you're
you're
pissed
going
off.
crazy,
You're like,
or you're
dying.
trying
No, it's
to,
just
like,
comfortable,
keep
honest.
your eyes open. That's what I'm
Y'all
just telling you.
borrowing
So
me.
if you're doing that on calls, people are looking at you like, yo, this guy.
Yeah, I
Joe
know. My facial
Byron.
expressions are just not good. People are
Put
like,
the
are you
hands
mad at
up-
me? I'm like,
Put the hands away from the face. You know what might help actually?
what's up?
Is the screen might not have enough brightness. So you're kind of like
I see
squinting.
fine. I'm just saying this is
Oh.
comfortable to hold my head there.
Oh,
I
you,
see
you got
fine.
that head weight? That head weight.
No, I see fine. It's just comfortable for me to lay my hands on my head on my hands like this. That's all.
Doc, we're
What about
living in
the
the time
arm?
of COVID. Keep your hands away from your face.
We could use the arm, like the mic boom stick or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I have that, but I have to get the piece repaired, remember, or replaced.
Oh,
That's right.
is that the piece that I have?
Yes.
All right. So I need to give you that piece. David needs to give me the mic piece, and then we'll all be set.
Then we'll be
All right. Let's do this thing. So talking about ankle mobility, one thing that I struggle with some of my clients is having them stretch because they don't want to stretch. Nobody wants to stretch. Everybody wants to act like they stretch. Everybody wants to write about how they stretch. They want to tell you that they stretch, but they don't want to actually stretch. So I don't know what's going on there, but they want to. Then, when you get injured, it's like, oh no, why did that happen? It's like, well, you did all this work, and how much time and work did you spend? And then how much time did you spend stretching? And it's like, none.
What's that?
And that's that. Caso cerrado, as they say.
Afuera.
So there was a article written by, I'm going to jack up his name, but his first name is Nick. His last name is Tuminello. David, help me out.
Nick Tuminello?
Yeah. Is that his name? No. All
I
right.
don't
Well,
know.
I'll figure it
I'm
out.
thinking you're saying Tom Morello.
No. But he put an article out and he spoke a little bit about how you can actively increase somebody's range of motion doing certain exercises in the ankle. So a couple of them were pretty interesting because he used resistance in order to help with, strengthening the end range of motion of the ankle joint. So if you think about it, it's kind of like going down into a deep squat with a kettlebell or something like that, right? Where you're focusing on getting that range of motion under load. So that was something that I found pretty interesting because it had some images. David, you see who I'm talking about, right?
No, but I've heard of what you've said. What apparently this guy is saying. I mean, and I think it's 100% true.
Yeah. And it makes it a little bit of an easier sell when it comes to clients and training them because sometimes they just don't want to do the activity that you're telling them to do. So it helps them feel like they're doing something actively as well as also getting something in the mobility section. Like it checks off two boxes at the same time. So there's an article that he wrote. I sent it to you guys. I put up something in the Trainer Feed folder that has like a whole bunch of articles. And in the article that he wrote, he has some images there for some of the movements, just to give the viewers or the listeners something of like an idea as how he was doing it. He was having like, if you think about that calf stretch you do against the wall where your back leg is straight and your front leg is bent and you're trying to create space or trying to shorten. Exactly. Something like that. He did something like that where he had a dumbbell in his hand as well. And then he would start to do calf raises on that back leg. kind of like leaning in towards the wall. So he was doing that, and then also did some stuff where he was doing some stuff with his knee bent, because he also spoke about how calf stretching, or stretching the flexion, or the plantar and the dorsiflexion of the ankle, is affected by calf, your ability to stretch out your calf. And so the calf is constructed of your gastrocnemius and your soleus. So making sure that you do some straight leg calf work as well as some bent leg calf work, resisted, can help benefit the whole structure in and of itself. So for the soleus stuff, he did kind of like sitting down in a chair, and then having like something underneath like the ball of your foot to place you at a bit of a deficit. And then from there, having a weight on top of your thigh, and then you're just like lifting by kind of planting down into the floor off the thigh. So I just thought that was something pretty cool. And he had some other examples as well. So listeners, you can take a look at some of the stuff that he's written. He's got some pretty good articles out there. I'll link it in the YouTube, and I'll link it, somewhere in our bio or in the website version. So that way you guys can check it out. And that's about it. Do you guys have challenges with training your clients through mobility work, or do you find like this stuff was spot on or not so spot on with the people that you work with?
I think I agree with it. I think the challenges I found with mobility in clients is when someone comes up to you and really hammers home that mobility, flexibility is an area of opportunity they want to work on. You give them the tools. You try and find the time in their calendar, and they don't do it. I don't really know. That's just one part of coaching, I suppose. There's only so much you can do, but I don't know how you guys respond in that situation when someone, has spoken about something, you've walked with it through the session, you give them the homework, they don't do it, and you can tell. What do you guys say to that? It's just like,
well, I mean, sometimes you'd be like, let's see one example of this, and you don't want to like pop quiz them, to make them feel
I know, but
like that, but just like to check to make sure that they're doing it correctly and they're being safe while doing it. And that's what something you might have to explain to the person too, because the person might just look at you like, what do you mind?
I'm an alien, yeah.
They're like, fuck you mean, bro?
Don't check my homework, but it's helpful.
Right.
And as long as you explain yourself and explain the reasoning, there are some people who are just very injury prone, or they have like a couple of places that they get injuries in, like Jock, for example, like the knee, right? Like the knee is something that has been a point of interest in the past.
Shut up, David.
And I can't.
Jacques, just get stronger, bro. Like, I don't know what.
Yo, you good, David. We're gonna come out at you. I'm gonna come out in 2 months. Don't worry. Like, keep going to Angel. Don't listen.
Yeah, because like if you have an injury, like it would be silly not to strengthen it, but not to mobilize it, right? Or to mobilize it, but not to strengthen it. And when you don't have that, then it's kind of like, how can you look for other things? Like, oh, I heard this supplement was good for like collagen replacement was good for my shoulder or whatever. It's like, how can you look to other things when you're not doing like the foundation stuff that you can do every single day, right? So I don't know.
No, I think that's a really good important thing, and I'll say this as well, where I've been doing a bit of a different program, and in the warm up, there's so many variations or activation of examples of calf raises, and I was like, oh man, I never do this in warm up, and it's super fascinating to see, yes, going outside your program a little bit, but just doing different patterns and thinking below the knee joint, which I always sometimes assume, all right, and when you foam roll, you often spend time around the IT band or the quads. I don't really spend much time on the hamstring or glutes. Sometimes you forget the space between your ankles and knees. At least I'm guilty of, and like just doing simple calf raises or single leg calf raises or different modalities of that. And all I'll say is that I think it's important for people to also remember the difference between being mobile and strong in those joints, in the sense that, they're fine loading the joints at certain angles, but then if they don't have the mobility, that's why, I find the first conversation with a squat, for example, is ask why I prefer the leg press. Well, because your mobility, your shape into the knee flexion and hip flexion is different than if you were doing a squat. You know, we already mentioned like it's almost like you bending over and then pushing the plate away from you, as opposed to being tall standing and descending into a squat. So that's all I would say is I just think you can't rule it out for hiding areas of opportunity in the mobility. But
Yeah, right on. David had a point on another podcast that we just had about training people and having. Well, I don't want to screw up David's thing. So, David, why don't you say what you had to say? Because I wanted to talk about it a little bit, but we didn't really have the time, and it wasn't really the place to.
Yeah, you
have
gotta do
conversation.
the voice, the sound thing.
Let's see. I don't have my glasses on because they reflect off the computer monitor. About that.
So
That good? I gotta keep my
I
eyes
love
down
that
here.
one. Wait, there's another one though. That what was the other one that we like, Jacques? It was more like a techno beat kind of.
I can't remember.
David likes this one.
No, not that one.
That's the one David likes.
There's another one that we
there's
like.
no techno beat. There's this. Oh, the heartbeat maybe.
No, not that one. Yes, that one.
This is the one you like for real.
Hang on, no, it's a.
David Summers.
Oh nah, that's Pro Jam. Shout out Pro Jam.
They can't copyright that. Anyway, David.
Anyway,
speak to the point.
So I think we were talking about getting a client to do things that they may not enjoy doing, and how to have tough conversation. You know, and my viewpoint on that is, yes, there's always got to be some sort of delegating between you and your client about certain things. But I kind of see it as going to, like, if you need a lawyer, you go to a lawyer for their expertise and their ideas. And it's hard to be like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't think that's a good idea. And you're like, okay, well, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but I kind of know a little bit of what I'm doing, and having that discussion of like, listen, I understand you don't want to do something, but I think this is the best course of action based on what your goal is that you told me that you want to achieve. Yes, I understand somebody might not like to do barbell back squats, but you told me that you want to get stronger, and kettlebells can only go so far. Dumbbells can only go so far. So I mean, that's kind of how I see it. I mean, if you want to get stronger, if you want to get, thick thighs while getting stronger, then I think, back squatting is a good idea. And if you don't want to do it, I understand. And I will beg to differ that I think we need to do the back squats. And having those tough conversations with clients, because there may be the point where you'll lose a client like that, and that's something you need to come to terms with, because you don't want to go into every session not having fun, or like not feeling good about what it is that you're providing. Well, that's just my thought.
I wish I had a flag. I was gonna throw a challenge flag, but I don't have anything like red.
Hold on.
I have a book. My video is frozen, by the way, so I can't see what the hell David's digging up. Probably for the better.
Can you see it?
No. You didn't hear what I said, but it's all good. So what I would say to that, my counter argument is this. So my counter argument is that what I would do in those situations is I would ask the client or the athlete why.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they opposed to the movement? And then learn a little bit more about that, right? So the experience could be they had a bad experience while doing it before, right? Somebody was yelling at them that their form wasn't correct. It could be an emotional thing. It could be a physiological experience where they experienced some pain and they didn't want to go to the pain ever again because somebody told them like, this is going to happen if you keep doing this, right? So it's like pain or physiological on top of emotional, or physiological on top of psychological, right? Which is another thing where somebody just puts fear into you and then they tell you, you can't do this because X, Y, and Z would happen after that. So there are direct consequences of doing that movement pattern. And I think from my experience, it has been a battle for me to understand where people are coming from in certain regards, but the more I kind of like put down my defenses of why these exercises are needed in a program and open the floor to like a dialogue about the reasoning behind their them just like setting their, putting their mark in the sand and saying this is where I draw my line when it comes to movements. I've noticed that there are more reasons than I could have imagined why people would avoid certain movement patterns. And, you start to lead with empathy and move from there. And sometimes it's like all it takes is you just having that conversation about it and then laying out that blueprint of, hey, how about this? As opposed to just mixing it off completely. Let's do X, Y, and Z, and we'll still get to where we got to go, but just maybe just give this one another chance after we build up to it or something of that sort. Because there are some clients that I have that have like knee pain and they hated squats, right? Anything squats or lunges. Lunges are like, no, if you have knee pain, people look at lunges and they're just like trying to kill
Look
themselves.
at you
They
like a
think of
three
it like,
heads, yeah.
like scratching a chalkboard or something like that. And, I've never had like knee pain to the point where I've needed surgery or anything like that, but I can understand how that could be like looked at as something that's not appealing to that person. So in order to appease them, what I do is I say, okay, so I understand where you're coming from. I see where you're going with that. How about we work on strengthening the posterior chain? We're going to do some knee-friendly exercises. And then we're going to try to work on the unilateral exercises. So we build that background as well. So both posterior chain and unilateral. And then we do some stuff with a limited range of motion and then start to build up to the other range of motion. If you give me an opportunity for that, then, that would work. If not, then that's okay too. I think that it just has to be an open door in terms of dialogue. And from my experience, I don't gain anything as a coach from saying that I do not train people who do not do these movement patterns, from my experience, because I've only grown after having that dialogue with people who have experienced something different, right? Because I have some clients who have knee pain and they don't like to squat at depth because their doctor said not to, their physical therapist said not to. And, these are clients who are very consistent. These are clients who were transparent about, what we do or what I do with them. And part of it is like, yeah, it does become in your best interest financially in order to not shut it down, right? Because if you shut it down, then you just have to find another client. But at the same time, it's like I had to speak to the physical therapist and ask why. And the physical therapist explained to me from a physiological perspective as to why this person should not squat to depth and they should squat with like something underneath their heels or an elevated heel and still not squat to depth. And after having that conversation, I kind of thought about like, well, why does that person need to do that to begin with? Because I think that squatting to depth is preferable, or I think that squatting to depth is better than that. And, does that person need to do it? Are they playing in a sport where they need to do that? The answer was no, on both fronts. And so I just had to learn from that experience and then move from there.
I can agree. I've had that similar situations though, for sure.
I can't see you guys, so I can't really read the room. I don't know if David's like just walked out at this point or
No,
He was in the door.
Yeah, my Zoom for whatever froze. Can you guys see me?
Yeah, it's
we
fine
see
with you.
That was weird. All right.
I'm seeing
see
a
how
ghost on
the-
your screen though. Someone
We'll
behind
see how
you.
the YouTube comes out. Oh,
That
it
door,
goes.
Angel, that door behind you opening. There's a little hand opening.
Oh, that's what's
You
up.
didn't see it?
That's Sanja with the chancleta.
Now, if she could do that trick, I'm out. That's that brujeria. That's crazy.
Oh
Anyway.
shit.
So what do you guys think about that? I kind of went on a little rant about that, but that's how I feel.
No, you're right. No, you're right. But like, but you also touched on the whole thing of like, how about we get started? Let's say, for example, and correct me if I'm wrong. You said, like, how about we get started doing kettlebells and dumbbells and stuff? But there's a point where that that, like I said earlier, that could take you so far. And if the person's goal is this, and that, then you have to also have that honest conversation. And then and then after that, they may have a different goal, and then you have to modify that. Yeah, like I said, delegating with the client and trying to negotiate, be like, okay, where are you willing to go?
Mm-hmm.
But also, you know, at the same time, I'm, you know, I could be hard headed, but it comes down to what it is that your value is. What do you think your value is that, you know, given to the client? And if you're, you know, setting your ways, and if you, you know that something could really help, then I think that's something you should always try to push for. Because doctors can always say, don't do something if it hurts.
Mhm.
But then we could always be like, how about we try to make it not hurt, you know, and get to a place where you could do it. Not saying that a 97-year-old client has to do a full dead back squat with barbell on their back. Maybe all they need to do is just sit down on a bench and stand back up, and that's great.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. You just
that's
not
all they need to
mask
do.
it, but if you just paint it in the way they need to use it.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you know, everybody squats to some certain extent.
To some
Everybody,
extent, yeah.
everybody lunges to a certain extent in their daily lives.
100%.
You know.
Yeah, and
No, I agree.
Those are the points that I made to that client. I told them that, like, you will do this. It's just you won't do this while you know that you're doing this, right? Like, you're squatting not to that depth when you sit on the toilet. Like, that's not something you do.
Yeah, and you mentioned too about. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, that sometimes they perceive that they're doing something in the gym that they're not doing outside, right?
Yeah.
So drawing those connections, but that comes from having that dialogue about, you can do this because you have done it in the past because you poop, or you can do this because you have done this in the past because you take the stairs, right? Like, you come to me by not taking the elevator. I see you walk up the stairs, right? So there are things that you can, you know, but sometimes they don't draw those lines together. You see the body moving in one way. You see the body as like a skeleton, or maybe it's just me, but like, I'm assuming we see the body as like skeletons, and we see the joints, and we see the joint angles and how they move through the joint angles. And that's how we see them move. But they see it as like, the gyms, I don't do lunges, right? Or the gyms, I don't do step ups, but it's like they climb up the stairs, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah, they're
I
essentially
think,
doing step up. Yes, yeah. Sorry, David, go ahead.
I was just saying also, like you mentioned, they might have bad experiences doing stuff like that. So you have to relate to them. How about we do it a different way? Or how about you try my advice for a change? You know, maybe, you know, the other person didn't know how to properly teach a squat, leading to your pain. You know, how about we try this? And there's always going to be a point where you get stuck, and that's when you have to refer to another expert, and that's fine. There's something that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I mean, you always have that client that like, I'm not doing that, and you're like, okay, you know, we got to see what we're doing now.
True that.
So,
yeah. And then you also have the clients who you're doing like in body with, and they show up naked, right?
What?
All right. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is Jacques' Apple Watch. So the Apple Watch dilemma. So this is going to be a little bit. I can't see Jacques, so I don't know what his face is, if he's grabbing his head or not, or whatever. I'm assuming he's grabbing his head. I'm assuming he's grabbing his face. So if you guys remember, we had an episode. Oh yeah. All right. Damn. All right. So here's what we're going to make it quick. We had an episode where we spoke to Jacques about his Apple Watch, or spoke to Jacques about tech wearables, right? And David and I kind of pointed out some things with the Apple Watch, and things that we liked, things that we didn't like. Spoke a little bit about the Whoop strap, and things that we perceived that we liked, for things that we perceived that we didn't like, because we both don't have it. All three of us don't have it. And we came to a conclusion. Do you remember what that conclusion was?
No.
Clearly. So the conclusion was that the Whoop strap would be the better option for Jacques, just because he has challenges with his sleep, and his sleep was one of the areas of opportunity for him last year that he wanted to kind of focus on. And it was affecting his recovery, and that was something that he's always struggled with, but the Whoop strap kind of had that sleep element. Apple Watch, not so much. Additionally, the Apple Watch has like this feature where, like, if people text message you and people like email you or Instagram, whatever, it just pops up on your phone, or it pops up on your watch. I'm sorry. And he also said that he wanted to kind of focus on not doing those things, like staying away from his phone and detaching from like these screens, because it wasn't conducive to him going to sleep, wasn't conducive for him, you know, getting the proper rest and recovery. So then, you know, a couple of months go by, and then this week, an invite for an Apple Watch. Like, oh hey, so and so wants to add you to your Apple Watch, whatever. And guess who it is, guys?
I don't know. I
Ladies and
never got that
gentlemen.
invite.
You did, 'cause I sent you one.
It was
When'd you
Mr.
send it?
Delogier.
Saturday, Sunday.
All right, I'll check.
And I literally
check.
saw that message pop up. I said, this motherfucker. Like, this fucking guy. He's asking you, like, what do you think? It's like when you go to somebody with like relationship advice and then
And
you
just
ask
something
them, what do
else.
you think about this? And they just do something else. It's just like, so why the fuck did you ask me?
So truth be told is it's there's a career influence in it as well. So the couple of people I work with have, because of the direction I want to turn to, have really recommended it and made their life easier in that role. So based on people who've been successful in that area of health and wellness, taking their advice, and it's just it's been really good, honestly. So I've really liked it. So
So you take.
but
their
I know what
advice
you're
over our
saying.
advice. That's cool.
Well, I
'Cause they're
never
successful. No, that's okay.
yeah, no, I never said screw the Apple Watch. I'm not gonna get the sounds better. It just, that's why I wanted to talk to you guys, because you guys are current consumers. And look, like I connected with Alex didn't accept my invite, even though she got the watch with me, which is hilarious. But then her brother accepted me, my brother accepted me on the app, by the way, not in life. But I just want to mention that. And it's cool to kind of like not compete, but like I think it has a competitive, not competitive, like a healthy competitive nature almost, to make sure you do hit your steps and stuff like that, you know. So I thought it's kind of good. So I like it so far, and I think I'll have to tell you guys how things unfold as to.
You gotta get on that walkie-talkie too. Just randomly,
Yeah,
hear from your
I
hand.
know.
You're
No,
I'll have
that's
to-
gonna drive him crazy. Jacques, don't do that, because David will drive you crazy and you'll be embarrassed and you'll be upset.
I
and
mean,
he
you
won't
have
know
to accept it. If you don't accept it, you won't hear anything.
he won't know how to shut it off. That's the thing. And it's gonna keep going off, and he's gonna try to act with his clients, and then it's gonna be like, yeah.
I'll be like, hey Jacques, who you training? You training that guy you don't like? And then he's like, what?
And he's gonna be like, oh god.
Yo, that'd be funny though.
You're like a very, very light you're
Yeah.
All right,
But when you
we'll
say,
call
when you
it-
do your, it comes up with your, like you are.
true.
No, not on the walkie-talkie.
All right, so I'll have to.
All right, we
But-
gotta wrap up.
Yeah, let's wrap up. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, guys, have a good one.